In this getting started video, we'll use the architectural template and create a overall shell of the building so that next week we can pick up the site topography, some 3D solid model forms, camera view, and the rendering tools. We'll look at the basics of placing floors, walls, windows, doors, loading families, creating a curtain wall, small one, and stairs, handrails, and come back to those details as we progress in the semester. So let's get started by using the architectural template here to start a brand new project. And then I like to put my project browser over on the right hand side to show you more properties. We'll go ahead and pick the wall icon at the top left. And notice all of the different tools that you have for drawing walls. So we'll use rectangle there. Click a point, pull your mouse across and click another point. To end the command, use the escape key or pick the modify button at the very top left side. And then select one of the walls and you'll see that you have these temporary dimensions. You can click on the number and type in a different dimension. If you type in 50 or 40 or 30, whatever your dimensions are, you won't need feet. It automatically converts to feet here using Revit. So you can then select the other wall and change the dimension. Everyone will create something a little bit different. We also have these temporary dimensions that have witness lines along the extension lines. If you click on that small circular grip, you can change the location to the inside face of the wall, and that way you can change then the overall dimension so that it's inside to inside wall. Okay, if we start the wall tool, we can take a look at some of these features. In the options bar, we have a command called chain. If you put the check mark in front of chain, then when you draw the walls, they will be linked together as you start to pick points. If you take the check mark out of chain and you click 2 points, it ends the wall. So we'll go ahead and select those walls that we drew off to the side and pick the red X to delete them. And then starting the wall tool, we can take the check mark out of chain so that we can draw walls inside our rectangle. Notice that you have other tools like where you're drawing the wall, from the exterior face or the middle of the wall, and you also have different heights. Let's change the height to level 2 in this wall, so that it goes from level 1 to level 2. The wall then will start at level 1 and go to level 2. And go ahead and draw your own interior walls there. You can select the door icon. You'll see that there are other door sizes that come with Revit. Before you place your door, use the space bar to change the swing of the door. But even after you place the door, you can select it and use some of the control grips around the door to flip it in either direction. When you start the wall tool, notice that you also have options for using other walls. We're just using the generic one here. Let's go ahead and place a window. You can select the window icon and then go close to one of the walls and click, and you've placed the window. We've been using the doors, windows, and walls that are already loaded and a part of Revit, but like AutoCAD has blocks, in a similar way Revit has families. So at the very top here, once you start one of those tools, you can pick the load family icon and go to the Imperial folder and browse through some of these folders to load those families. There are a lot of free families online at Autodesk and other websites. So go ahead and place a few windows, and if you need to, you can select a window and pick the red X to delete it. We can pick the floor icon and start a sketch of the floor. It can be based on picking walls, picking lines, and all of those other draw tools. The first wall that you pick is going to determine the span, the direction of the span with those two magenta lines, and the magenta lines are representing the sketch of how you'd like your floor. So if you look in this draw panel, you have curves, circles, and a variation of different shapes for your floor. Pick the green check mark when you're finished. We can now go to the 3D view, and we could go to the View tab and pick the 3D view icon. Every time you double click on a view, you're opening a different one. So I didn't show it in this video, but if you hold your control key down and press tab, control tab, you can tab between the different views. You can also put your pointer next to a stack of common elements and pick your tab key to cycle through them. Let's go to level 2, and in the level 2 view, we can place a floor. Again, we're going to select the walls, but this time we'll use the additional tools to create an opening in the floor, a rectangular one, but you can use these curves, these arcs, to create your own shape. And then pick the green check mark. It asks if you want to attach the floors, which you do. Let's go to the 3D view and take a look at some of the graphic displays. At the bottom left corner, you'll see an icon that you can use for graphic display. You can change it to shaded, turn on your shadows with the icon that looks like a small bubble. But in the graphic display menu, pick graphic display options. If you use the transparency tool and pick apply, you'll be able to look through some of those solid shapes. Let's go to the level 1 view and place components. Pick component and then place component. You'll notice that the type selector changes. There are a few components here already, but again, we're going to go to the load family icon and load more choices for your furniture layout. You can find several of these free families at websites like Autodesk, Revit City, Revit Kid, and several others. When you bring them into your folder structure, if you load those families and they have the same name, then a dialog box will appear that asks if you want to override it. So be careful that you're not replacing some of the families that you already have in your file. So go ahead and place furniture. When you select your furniture, before you place it, press the space bar to rotate it automatically before it's placed. There are people that you can load under the entourage folder here, a male and a female. There's several names there. We're going to take a better look at those when we render. If you'd like to move one of your objects, you can select it and drag and drop it to the new location. You can select it and pick the rotate tool and then pick a point of rotation. Move your mouse around to the new location and pick another point. Select an object and pick mirror. You can either pick an axis or draw one. So here I'm picking an axis, and as long as you have a check mark in copy in the options bar, it will copy that mirrored object. There are tools that you can use to split a wall. You can split it with a gap, or you can split it with a larger opening. So in the Modify tab, we'll go to Split with Gap, but notice next to it there's an icon to split an opening, and then left click here at a point on your wall and left click down away from that point, and you'll notice that that piece is now separated. If you select it, you can drop the list down of different walls that you can use and change it to a curtain wall as a choice. So you have basically a sheet of glass that we can work with, or a large panel. You can hide elements temporarily in this view. If you select those elements, like those tags that are on the door, right click and go to Hide in View. You can hide either just one of them with elements or both, selecting the category. At the bottom left corner, you'll see a small light bulb icon. If you select the light bulb icon, you can then select that element and pick Unhide. Another option for turning on and off the display of objects is to type in VG and go to the Annotation category tab. You can scroll down and find Door Tag. Take the check mark out, pick OK, and you won't see that element because they're turned off. Going to the 3D view, we can use the same concept by typing in VG and going here to the Model category, scroll down to Floors, and take the check mark out and pick OK. Hold your Shift key down and press the wheel of your mouse to orbit around your drawing to get close to this panel of glass so that we can add mullions and grid lines, basically cuts in the glass. So over in the Architecture tab, we'll pick mullions and then select the outer glass to place the mullion. And then in the Architecture tab, we'll pick curtain grids to create our own grid of glass panels. And then back in the Architecture tab, we can use the mullion tool In the type selector, you have several different types of mullions that you can select from. Typing in VG, you can then put the check mark back in to turn your floor back on. You can even use the view cube, which is that small cube in the upper right hand corner, to select different views in this 3D view. I selected the corner to look at the southeast isometric view. In the level 1 view, let's take a look at how to display the other levels in this level. So in the Properties palette, you can find Underlay. Underlay, if you change that to level 2, will show you the opening above in level 2. By viewing the opening, we can now place a basic stair. We'll come back to this with more detail later on in the semester. You can sketch a stair or you can place a stair by a component. And notice that there are several different types of stairs that you can place. We're going to use the single run. And so the first point that you click is the first riser location. Revit will automatically create the correct number of risers based on the standards that we have in place. And we'll take a look at that when we come back to look at all of these elements with more detail. Select a point for the beginning of the stair and then pull your mouse all the way up beyond the top of the stair and select. If you clicked before the end of the stair, then you would be prompted to create a landing. We can select the stair, pick the move icon, and move it to the edge of this opening. In the 3D view, you'll see that we created one straight stair with stringer that goes from the first level to the second level. Pick the green check mark and you'll see that by default the rails are already on the stair. In the level 2 view now, we can go to railing and you can place a railing on a host like a stringer, or you can create a sketch here of the rail. That's what we'll do in the level 2 view. We're going to use the line tool in the draw area there to draw here that magenta sketch again at the edge. I went to the 3D view just to make sure that the points that I was picking were along that correct edge. Here, I can also select the magenta line and stretch it over to line it up with the other rail. Check it in the 3D view, make sure that the magenta line is in the correct location, and then pick the green check mark. This is video 1 of 2 for getting started with some of these basics. In video 2, we'll take a look at placing levels, placing a roof, and additional display tools for this assignment 1. You have flexibility in creating your own design based on what we covered in this first video. There is a checklist posted online for your reference. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or if you need help.